In 1970, a boy lived in a house you would not recognize today. The television was a piece of furniture with legs, and you got up to change it. The phone had a dial and hung on the wall. The couch was wrapped in plastic. There was wax fruit on the table nobody ate, and three faces watched over the living room from the wall: Jesus, Martin, and Kennedy. Every black household in America had a version of that same room, filled with the same things. Most of them are gone now. Not just old-fashioned, but completely vanished, the whole object erased from modern life. But one thing in that house held the entire family's history inside it, and it has quietly disappeared from almost every home. It is number one on this list. We all grew up in that house, or one just like it. The same furniture, the same wall, the same objects arranged the same way, in millions of homes at once, as if somebody had passed out a list. He was not unusual. Every black family of that time built the same kind of room, out of the same handful of things, bought slow, kept nice, and meant to last. Then the world modernized, and one by one those things disappeared, until you walked into a house today, and not a single one of them was there. We did not just update our homes, we let a whole way of making a house a home quietly slip out the door, and most of us did not notice until it was already gone. Number 15 is a sound and a smell at once, coffee that perked and bubbled up into a little glass knob on top of the pot. Number 14 is something that sat right on the stove for years that a health inspector would faint at today. And number 2, a wall of faces in every home that you have not pictured in decades, is one you would give anything to stand in front of one more time. These 20 things were never expensive. They were what a proud family did with a little money and a lot of care, a home built to be kept and shown and lived in together. Every one of them was in the house that boy grew up in. Hit that subscribe button and let's count down 20 things every black household had in 1970 that have completely vanished. Number 20. The console television. The TV was not a screen you hung on a wall. It was a heavy piece of furniture that sat on the floor on 4 legs. It came in a big wooden cabinet, and the top was flat, so it doubled as a table for framed photos and a doily and a plastic plant. The screen was small in the middle of all that wood. You got up and turned a knob to change it. For the boy, that console was the center of the living room, as much a piece of furniture as the couch. The console TV disappeared entirely once televisions got thin enough to hang on a wall. It was not just a TV. It was a table, a shelf, and a screen, all in one heavy wooden box. Number 19, the console stereo. Right next to it often sat another long wooden cabinet, the stereo, the whole thing built into the furniture. You lifted a hinged lid on top, and there was the turntable. And behind a cloth panel were the speakers, and a radio dial glowed in the middle. It was the size of a sideboard. The whole family's music lived in that one beautiful box. That cabinet was where the records spun on a Sunday afternoon while the house got cleaned. The furniture-sized stereo vanished as components got smaller and speakers moved off on their own. It was not just a stereo. It was a piece of furniture that happened to hold all the music in the house. Number 18, the rotary phone. To make a call, you stuck your finger in a hole and dragged the dial all the way around and waited for it to spin back, once for every number. It hung on the kitchen wall or sat heavy on a table, and it was almost always black. A long number took forever to dial, and if you missed the last digit, you started all over. It rang loud enough to wake the whole house. For the boy, that heavy dial was simply how you called anybody, and he never imagined a phone could be anything else. The rotary dial disappeared completely once push buttons and then cell phones took over. It was not just a phone, it was a dial you turned with your finger, gone without a trace. Number 17, the plastic on the furniture. The good couch and the good chairs were sealed in clear plastic slipcovers, and they stayed that way for years. It stuck to your legs in summer and was cold in winter, and it crackled every time you sat down. But underneath, that furniture stayed brand new, protected from every child, every spill, every day of ordinary life. That plastic was the pride of a family that had saved up for something nice and meant to keep it nice. The plastic slipcover has all but vanished, a way of protecting furniture that modern homes gave up. It was not just plastic, it was a family guarding the one nice thing it had worked to buy. Number 16, the metal TV trays, a set of folding metal trays painted with gold flowers or a fall scene stacked in the corner until dinner in front of the TV. You unfolded the wobbly legs, set your plate on the little painted tray, and ate, watching your show as a special treat. There were 4 of them in a matching rack. They pinched your fingers when you folded them. That set of trays was how a family ate together in front of the one television on a special night. The painted metal TV tray has quietly disappeared from most homes. It was not just a tray. It was a whole family eating dinner around the same show. Number 15, the percolator. Here is a sound and a smell at once. Coffee was not the push of a button. It was perked on the stove in a metal pot. The water bubbled up through the grounds and splashed against a little glass knob on the lid, and you watched it perk and darken while the whole kitchen filled with the smell. It gurgled and popped the whole time it brewed. For the boy, that bubbling glass knob and that smell meant the grown folks were up and the day had started. The stovetop percolator faded away once the automatic drip coffee maker took over the counter. It was not just coffee, it was a sound and a smell that meant morning had come to the house. Number 14, the grease can. Here is the one that would make a health inspector faint. On the back of the stove sat a can of saved bacon grease, and it was treasured. Every time somebody fried meat, the hot grease got poured off into that old coffee can and kept, sometimes for weeks, to season the next pan of greens or cornbread or eggs. It never seemed to spoil. It made everything taste like home. That can of saved grease was a whole philosophy of wasting nothing and flavoring everything. The grease can on the stove has vanished from modern kitchens entirely. It was not just grease. It was the secret behind the taste of everything that came out of that kitchen. In 1970, everything in that house was made to last and made to be kept. The furniture was protected, the grease was saved, the good dishes were guarded, the same TV sat in the corner for 15 years. Nothing was disposable because nothing could be. You bought a thing once, and you made it last a lifetime. Today, almost everything in a home is made to be replaced, upgraded, and thrown out, and most of it will be gone in a couple of years. We call that progress, and in some ways it is. But look what got traded: the care, the keeping, the pride in a thing you saved for and protected. A house used to be built out of objects a family intended to hand down. Now it is built out of things we already planned to throw away. Number 13, the china cabinet. In the dining room stood a tall glass cabinet full of dishes the family almost never used. The good china, the good glasses, a set from somebody's wedding, all behind glass and brought out maybe twice a year. And somewhere on a shelf, in a little stand, sat a commemorative plate with Dr. King's face on it that nobody remembered buying. For the boy, that cabinet was full of treasure he was not allowed to touch, saved for a special day that rarely came. The formal china cabinet, full of dishes kept for company, has largely disappeared from homes. It was not just dishes, it was a family's nicest things, kept safe behind glass for the days that mattered. Number 12. The doilies. Crocheted white doilies covered every surface a doily could possibly cover. On the arms of the couch, on the back of every chair, under every lamp, on top of the television, little handmade lace circles that somebody's grandmother had crocheted by hand. You were not to mess them up or slide them off. Those doilies were handmade care spread across the whole house, hours of somebody's work protecting the furniture underneath. The crocheted doily has all but vanished from living rooms. It was not just lace. It was a grandmother's handwork laid over every surface in the house. Number 11. The bowl of fake fruit. On the coffee table or the dining table sat a bowl of fruit you could not eat. Wax apples, plastic grapes, a fake banana, sitting in a nice bowl as decoration, gathering a little dust. Every child tried to bite one exactly once and learned the hard way. It was never food. It was just there, forever. That bowl of fake fruit was a small touch of nice a family put out to make a table look finished. The bowl of wax fruit has quietly disappeared from the modern table. It was not just fake fruit. It was a family dressing up a plain table with the little it had. Number 10. The encyclopedia set. A whole row of matching books stood on a shelf, bought one volume at a time on a payment plan. A man came to the door and sold them, and your parents paid them off over a year or more. You did every school report out of them, and on a boring day, you would pull one down and read whatever fell open. They made the house look like learning lived there. For the boy, that matching row of books was his parents betting money they barely had on his future. The home encyclopedia set was made completely obsolete by the internet. It was not just books. It was a family buying its child the whole world, one volume at a time. Number 9. The giant wooden fork and spoon. On the kitchen wall hung an enormous wooden fork and spoon, far too big to ever eat with. They were 1.5 feet long, dark carved wood, hung side by side over the table or the doorway. Nobody knew where they came from. Nobody remembered buying them. But almost every kitchen had them, as if they appeared on their own. For the boy, that oversized fork and spoon were simply part of what a kitchen wall was supposed to have. The giant wooden utensils are one of the most universal and least explained fixtures of the era, now nearly gone. It was not just decoration, it was the one thing every kitchen had that nobody could explain. Number 8. The wringer washer. Before the machine did it all, the washer had 2 rollers on top you fed the clothes through by hand. You washed the clothes in the tub, then guided each wet piece between the rollers to squeeze the water out, and you kept your fingers well clear, because that wringer did not know the difference between a shirt and a hand. Then everything went out to the line. That machine was hard, careful work, laundry that took a whole day and real attention. The wringer washer vanished completely once the automatic washing machine arrived. It was not just a washer, it was laundry as a full day's labor, done with 2 careful hands. Number 7. The Grace Picture. On the kitchen wall, or by the table, hung a picture of an old man bowed in prayer over a loaf of bread or a pair of folded praying hands. It hung there over every meal, a quiet reminder in the room where the family ate that the food was a blessing and not a given. You saw it every single day until you stopped seeing it. It was simply part of the wall. For the boy, that praying figure over the table was so constant it became invisible, and so it sank in deep. Prints like daily bread and the praying hands hung in kitchens everywhere, now rarely seen. It was not just a picture. It was a family keeping God in the room where it ate. Here is the part of his story we have been circling. Years later, grown, the boy walked through his childhood home one last time after his grandmother passed, and he understood the whole house at once. Every single thing in it had been chosen with care and kept for decades. The plastic still on the couch, the china still behind glass, the three faces still watching from the wall, the grease can still on the stove. Nothing was fancy. Everything was loved. This was not a house full of things. It was a life, built slowly out of a little money and a lot of pride by people who made a home the only way they knew how, by keeping every good thing and centering it all on their faith and their family. He stood in that quiet room and understood that they had built something that could not be bought. And the biggest piece of it is still coming. It is number 1. Number 6, Jet magazine on the coffee table. Small enough to fit in a back pocket, a copy of Jet sat on the coffee table in nearly every home. You flipped through it for the news the other magazines would not print. The weddings and the funerals and the wins and the losses of Black America, all in one little weekly. There was always a stack of old ones somewhere. It kept a scattered people connected. For the boy, that little magazine was where he saw his own world reflected back week after week. The print edition of Jet, a fixture for generations, ceased regular publication, and the coffee table copy vanished with it. It was not just a magazine, it was a whole people keeping up with itself, one little weekly at a time. Number 5, the clothes line. Out in the backyard, strung between 2 poles, the wash hung out to dry in the sun and wind. Wooden clothespins held up sheets and shirts, and everybody's everything flapping in the breeze. You ran between the wet sheets as a kid. The clothes came in stiff and smelling like outside, a smell no machine has ever managed to bottle. For the boy, that yard full of hanging laundry was the smell of a clean house and a working day. The backyard clothesline has largely disappeared, replaced by the dryer and banned by some neighborhoods outright. It was not just laundry, it was clothes that came in smelling like sunshine, a thing no machine can do. Number 4, the front room. There was one room in the house kept perfect for company, and you were not allowed to live in it. The best furniture, the good lamp, the nice rug, all arranged just so, and kept spotless for guests who came twice a year. You did your actual living in the back of the house, and you walked through the front room sideways, if at all. It waited, perfect, for the special occasion. For the boy, that untouchable room was his mother's pride made visible, the one space the ordinary world could not wear down. The formal front room, kept for company, has all but vanished from how we live now. It was not just a room, it was a family's dignity, kept perfect behind an invisible rope. Number 3, the 3 faces on the wall. In living rooms across Black America hung the same 3 portraits, often side by side, Jesus, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and John F. Kennedy. Nobody had to explain them. They stood for faith, for the fight for dignity, and for a sliver of hope that the country might change. They watched over the room where the family gathered, and every child grew up under their eyes. For the boy, those three faces were as much a part of the living room as the couch, a quiet lesson in what his people believed and had lost. That trio of portraits hung in countless homes and has faded from the walls of a newer generation. It was not just wall art. It was a whole people's faith, grief, and hope, hung together where everyone could see. Number 2, the wall of faces. One wall of the house was covered top to bottom in framed photographs of the whole family. School portraits of every child, wedding pictures, a formal shot of somebody in a military uniform, and the old sepia photos of elders you never met but were told you favored. Generations, all together on one wall. You passed it every day. For the boy, that wall was where he learned who he came from, 100 faces reminding him whose he was. The dense family photo wall has thinned out in an age when the pictures live on phones instead. It was not just photographs, it was every face you came from, watching over the house at once, and you would give anything to stand in front of it again. Number 1, the family Bible. That is it, the plainest thing on the whole list and the one that held everything else together. A big, heavy Bible, often white, with gold-edged pages, sat in a place of honor, on the coffee table, or a stand, or passed carefully hand to hand. And in the middle, on special printed pages, was the family tree, filled in by hand in fading ink. Every birth, every marriage, every death, going back further than anyone alive could remember. That boy we started with watched his grandmother add names to those pages and read the names of people gone long before him. Every single thing on this list, the front room, the three faces, the wall of photos, was really just a piece of what that Bible held. A family that knew exactly who it was, wrote itself down, and kept God at the center of the house. It was faith and history and family, all in one book, in every home. That family Bible, with the generations written inside it, has quietly vanished from most homes, and with it, the habit of a family recording its own. It was not just a Bible, it was the whole family, its faith and its names, its dead and its living, kept together in one book on the table, and there is nothing in a modern home that has replaced it. None of it was expensive. That was the whole point. A family took a little money and a lot of pride and built a home out of things meant to be kept, protected, dusted, saved, and handed down. The three faces on the wall told you what they believed. The china behind glass told you they had something worth saving. The Bible on the table told you where they came from and who they answered to. Every object in that house said the same quiet thing: this family is here, and it intends to last. Those things have vanished now, one by one, and a lot of the people with them. We did not just modernize our homes. We let go of a whole way of turning a house into a testimony. But it is not truly lost. Anyone who grew up in that house is still carrying it. All you have to do is walk back through it in your mind, and there it all still is, on the walls, behind the glass, on the table, exactly where they left it.